It's time for my weekly weigh-in. This is week number 4 weighing in on my weight loss journey. And hopefully this week I will shed it off, just shed it off, shed it off, just shed it off. Everybody loves Tay-Tay, right? But I'm kind of skeptical if I'm going to lose weight this week. I'll be super honest. I didn't have a great week with my diet and my nutrition. It also wasn't a great week for my exercise and my movement. So I'm not sure what the scale is going to say. What can I say? I put too much on my plate. I don't know if I'll lose weight. But that's okay. Life happens. We learn from it. We pick ourselves up and we keep going, right? But let's hop on the scale and see what it says. And bam, there it is. There's the scale. But before I hop on the scale, I have to tell you guys, as you get older, it's a little harder to lose weight. You know why? Because by that time, your body and your fat are just best friends. So, here we go. Oh, and look at my Squidward socks. Are they cute? Are you gonna lose weight this week? I'm Squidward. Okay, here we go. Oh. Last week, in case you missed the weigh-in, I weighed 184.6. And just now, I weighed in at 185.2. So that's less than a pound up from last week. So I did gain just slightly, but like I talked about before, I didn't have a great week with my diet, my exercise. So stay tuned for the second part of the video. I'm going to break down exactly what I was doing or not doing this week that I think led to a slight weight gain. And then we're going to talk about what we make sure that we do the next time so that we're successful. But I'll see you guys in just a bit. And we're back. So let's go ahead and recap this morning's weigh-in. I weighed in last week at 184.6. And then this morning, I weighed in at 185.2. That's a 0.6 pound gain, less than a pound, but 0.6 pound gain from last week. There are a few reasons why I think that happened. We'll get into that in just a moment. But let's look at the overall weight loss since I started my weight loss journey. I started my journey at 191.8. So we're still at an overall loss since I started the journey 4 weeks ago. And that is a total of 6.6 pounds, I believe, since the beginning of the weight loss journey. So I'm still very happy about that. Unfortunately, there are going to be some ups and downs along the way. So let's talk about first my diet and nutrition for this week. Monday through Thursday, I still was able to hit that sweet spot within my calorie goal of 1,100 to 1,200 calories, and with about 45 to 47% of those calories coming from protein. But that was Monday through Thursday. Last weekend, we had the big ice storm that hit North Carolina, and I purchased a few too many snow day snacks. I didn't count my calories on Friday, Saturday, or Sunday of last weekend. And I had a lot of high-calorie foods over the weekend. One thing I should not have done is allow myself to purchase that much bad foods. If I wouldn't have brought them into the house, they wouldn't have been available for me to munch on all weekend long. I always think I'll just have a little bit. I'll have the willpower to limit my consumption of those foods. But for me, the best thing is to just not purchase them and not to have them available for myself. So I think that's the best practice moving forward, is if I do purchase those foods, only to purchase just a very small amount, enough for the one day, or maybe some to have on the second day, but not enough to have like a whole weekend binge. That was not a good idea. Another factor on the days that I was counting my calories and made sure that I hit my macros was like where the calories were coming from and what types of foods that I was eating. And in the past several weeks, I've tried to get all my calories from whole foods, from meats, fruits, vegetables, whole grains, whole foods in general versus processed foods. And one thing that I had especially this week were protein bars or meal replacement bars, which can be a great thing if you need them for convenience, but it's good to be aware of the macros specifically and the fact that you're eating a processed food versus a whole food. One of my favorites that I had this week is the Met RX protein bar, and I really love the crispy apple pie. They are so good for like a meal replacement. If you're on the go and you need to eat something, I feel like eating something like this is better than just not eating anything, because that's not great if you're just going hungry, your body's wondering when your next meal is coming. Not good. But let's look at the stats on these protein bars. So they are 390 calories for one bar, which is kind of about what I would eat for a meal, but they are 9 grams of fat, 48 grams of carbs, 48 carbs, 1 gram of fiber, 29 grams of sugar, and 30 grams of protein. So 30 grams of protein, that's fantastic. 48 grams of carbs and 29 grams of sugar. Not good. But if they called it a carb bar, you probably wouldn't buy it. So just be really careful if you're on a weight loss journey like me and you are buying like protein bars or high protein foods. Just make sure that you're actually looking at the nutrition label and seeing the macros and what is actually in the foods that you're consuming. So just something to be aware of, and something that I'm going to take into the coming week, making sure that I'm going back to eating whole foods instead of processed foods and foods with too much carbs and too much sugar. Just something to keep in mind. The next reason that I feel like I gained this week has to do with my movement and exercise. So let's recap that. I did not meet my step goal every day this week. My goal is 10,000 steps plus for every day of the week, and I did not hit that. And I only got one full workout in this week. Now, I was kind of limited as far as going to my gym space because of the snow and ice that we had, but that is just an excuse, because I could have done workouts at home. I could have found a way to still got my heart rate up and get that calorie burn in. So even though we had the snow and ice, that wasn't really a great excuse to not get that workout in. So I only got one true workout in this week, and I did not meet my step goals this week. So saying that, I'm going to make sure in the coming week, despite the weather, because we are expecting more snow, but despite the weather, if I have to do workouts at home or whatever I need to do to make sure that I'm getting my exercise in this week and that I'm hitting my step goal for this week. So I'm going to make sure that I do it. Lastly, I'll recap my sleep and recovery goals that I've been working on. I am super happy to say that I can brag on myself in this regard, at least, that I did meet my 6 hours plus sleep goal for every night this week. Yay! Now, I wasn't working out as hard, so do I still need as much recovery? But anyways, I met my sleep goal, and I'm super proud of myself. I even got over 7 hours for one of the weeknights, and I got very close to 7 hours on multiple weeknights. So I have been making sleep and recovery a higher priority, and I have felt a lot better in doing that. So I'm going to continue to make sleep and recovery a priority, and I felt so proud of myself for hitting that goal every day this week. Well, I'm super happy, you guys, that you're tuning in for my weight loss journey, and I hope you'll stick with me as we continue into the next several weeks. I'm going to make sure this week that I'm hitting my workout goals, that I'm sticking to my calorie goals and my macros, and I'm really excited to see what this next week holds, and hopefully the weigh-in next week will be a better result in what we're expecting. But make sure that you hit the like, make sure you subscribe, and turn on notifications so that you don't miss any of my future weigh-in videos on my weight loss journey. But I'll see you next time. Goodbye!